So today is a special day because I'll be talking about how can we have it all with a very, very specific focus to women. And it all started with, I don't know if you all saw the clip of Jacinda Ardern when she resigned, and there was this big flash of whether women can have it all. And this is a perennial debate I think we've had over ages. Who you see here is my mother, and she was born in 1945, and she was born to a lower middle class family in Lucknow. Her father was a librarian, and there were two girls and one boy, and the girls went to a Hindi medium school and the boys went to the English medium school because that's all her parents could afford. But nevertheless, she was the oldest, so she wanted to support her father in many ways. And she decided to go for medicine. You know, in those good old days, boys did engineering and women did medicine. So she appeared for medical exam in KGMC in Lucknow, and God willing, she made it. And the first time, as she tells me, that she went to the medical school, she came back crying, telling her father that, the entire session was in English and I don't understand English. So therein her journey started by self-teaching herself English. She obviously completed her MBBS, got married, and moved on to, practicing as a doctor. And as she grew and she got married, she had two girls, and that was another journey. So we grew up hearing ki Dr. Kiran has two daughters and what will be, will be. So that's the journey of my mother. But I think as she was growing up, one of the things she was obsessed about was, my daughters need to know how to speak in English. So there I am delivering in honor of her in English, because language was a big, big barrier for her and made her feel inferior in many ways. And every time I've spoken to her, education has been the prime focus, and she made sure that her children were, educated in the right way. Moving on further, this is a lady, her name is Meeta. Meeta was born in 1974. As much as my mother, Dr. Kiran, she stood for resilience, Meeta for me has taught lessons about relationships. She kind of went through lots of relationship stresses in life, but never lost hope and optimism. She went through a bad relationship, she took a break, she started to become an entrepreneur, picked her life again, had a daughter at 40, and now is a successful entrepreneur in her own rights. So that's Meeta's story, and she really represents relationship and the power of relationship, because in spite of all the bad may have happened and the bad she's seen around her, her strong value comes from people are good at heart. It's the circumstances around them that make them behave badly. So that's a mantra I have learned from Meeta. Moving on forward, so that was the past, Meeta was the present, and this is the future. And this is Avni. Avni was born in 1998, so she represents the age group quite a bit here. And what I've learned from Avni is her resolve and her optimism to really change the future. I think many of you young kids today, and especially the young girls, when you graduate out of a college or a university, it's a very level playing field. And for a lot of women out there, then life happens. Life happens because parents say it's time to get married. Life happens because somebody tells you it's time to have kids. Life happens because somebody, mother-in-law, mother, husband says, now you have a child, you should be looking after, that's your priority. And gradually, all the lovely things you've learned during your education tend to fizzle away in a way that when you are at Meeta's age or my mother's Dr. Kiran's age, you figure out that life has suddenly left us behind. And in this debate, how do we decide or how do we pursue as women to have it all? So the common factor between the three women that I presented, the first one you obviously guessed, the first one's my mother, second one is my sister, and third one is my daughter. Right? And I think, for me, as I have grown as a professional of, having worked in different companies and different corporates, I've grown up looking at a lot of women role models in my life. As I grew up in my household, we were two sisters, and my mother would often say, you know, my girls will be my daughters, and that didn't really make me happy, because why does a daughter have to behave like a boy? So sorry, my mother would say my daughters will be like my boy or my son, and I would get upset about that. So I've grown up in that environment where the thinking was slightly different. Education, as we've heard earlier as well, makes a huge difference. So I grew up, and like a good household, my parents wanted me to be a doctor. And I wasn't sure. But in class 12th, what do you know better? You kind of get guided by your family. So I also took CPMT and medical exams. Unfortunately for me, I even made it. And to the same medical college where my mother went. The problem was that actually I didn't want to do medicine. So I think career choices are important. And when I came back home after a year, I actually wanted to run away from the medical college and do something different. And my mother and my father were quite stressed about it. And they asked me, so what do you want to do? And I said, I actually don't know. I know what I don't want to do. I don't know what I wanted to do. And that was that was up for debate. And therein started my journey with psychology in Delhi University. And the rest is history. And from there on, I moved on to management. I think over the next decades that I got married and I had 2 children, I think having it all actually transcribed itself into a different way. Can I have it all is all about you defining what your all means. Today I represent here a mother, a sister, a daughter, also a wife. And it wasn't that I could have it all the time. I could have some of it all the time, or all of it some of the time, but not all of it all the time. I think as a growing professional, there were lots of challenges. Whether we like it or not, the power center is yet with women, in spite of a lot of educated women out there. So when I was transitioning through my banking roles, working in investment banking or working as an HR professional, there were times I would walk into a boardroom or a management team meeting where all I would say is very homogeneous, 45-year-old balding men wearing black and gray suits. It's a very daunting moment for a minority. I wouldn't even call myself a woman. Even if there was another minority, they would probably feel the same. So the world is constructed differently for men and women, and actually the world default is constructed for men. I don't know how many of you know about this, but if you look at cars, a car safety testing is done on a default dummy 170 centimeter tall and 76 kgs. So we know most women are neither that tall, and certainly we'd not like to be at that weight. So I think, if you read the research, it will also tell you that 25% more women die in car accidents, because when women drive, they have to pull the seat in front, they have to raise it, the seats are not made for them. Safety belts, are not made for pregnant women. So most pregnant women tie it from the back, and that defaults the safety feature. If you look at financial services industry, many products, are built keeping in mind that most men invest, not women. And it was a pitch I was doing to an insurance company where we talked about a product where, on our platform now, that what I do, a lot of women come who actually suffer in marriages or relationship or abusive relationships. And we said, can you have a product which actually provides them a cover that if a marriage has gone bad, they can get 2 crores or 1 crores of rupees. And the company turned around and said, yes, Anu, we can do it, but we think there'll be a lot of fraud. People divorce each other and then claim the money. The point which we relate to them is insurance industry is on probability, right? So what's the probability of fraud, and do we not have frauds in medical or life or non-life? So I can go on with these examples, but largely the world is constructed thinking a male default for the human species in mind. And as a result, coming back to the corporate world where I come from, a lot of progress has been made. So if I see from my mother's time to my daughter's time, a lot of progress has been made, but we have a long way to go too. So moving on, when I say progress has been made, life expectancy is up. But, I was reading in a research somewhere that when you look at the medical research for women, there are a lot of doctors here, so they can opine on this. But a lot of medical testing also assumes a woman body. I'm talking about medical as in medicines. And one of them is heart. So most of the heart treatments are done keeping in mind angiography or ECG. Many women don't have clogged arteries. You know, we've all heard about Sushmita Sen having a heart attack, but you know, that's for another time. But that's true. A lot of women die of heart diseases because of other reasons which are not available from a medical perspective. But expectancy is up, which means a lot of research has been done on diseases which actually affect women. Labor force participation rate has certainly increased. It's nowhere close to what we'd like it to be, but as you can see, it's moved from 23.5 to 28.5. So it's in the right direction, which makes me really optimistic. And literacy rate. I think this is the biggest achievement, because we actually find many women or many girls coming out of schools and colleges, which gives us the feeder pipeline in the future. Having said that, many women are coming out of colleges, but very few retained in the workplace. And it's a catch-22. And I think, hold both women and workplaces accountable for that. And I'm a big one on aspiration gap, and you know, there is nothing which works unless you do. So all the three women I talked about, things worked for them because they wanted things to be the way they wanted it. Women in senior management, you know, where is the power? Power is at the top. And let me be honest, many times in my role when we were promoting women, a lot of women are almost don't want to be using power because it's stressful. I don't want to be a CEO. I don't want to be a CXO because it's very stressful. I'm very happy being at a certain level because I get some money and I'm kind of, adding to my husband's income. And so for a lot of women out there, if you don't treat your life and your career with a priority, nobody else will. CEO positions we've talked about. If you look at things like board seats, and I hope a lot of women out here will be, feeder to the board position. I sit on 3 boards. And every time I walk into the board, nobody says this, but it's almost, I feel it that I'm here because I'm a woman and the government mandates there has to be a woman on a board. And nobody says this, but many a times I feel I have to work harder in terms of the conversation which is going on to earn my stripes. But as they say, for the fear of dying, you don't stop living. So we have to keep pushing alongside the edge to make sure these numbers and stats change. I think the education system is providing a feeder. I think the workforce ecosystem has to change to be more inclusive, to have more women out there. How do we have it all? So these are some of the things which I learned. So from, working in a corporate world for about 3 decades, I decided to jump on to become an entrepreneur. So I'm a late entrepreneur. And quite a few lessons and multiple experiences that I have learned. First of all, when I launched a platform where our mission statement was we want to balance workplaces, in the corporate world, many investors actually thought I was running a non-profit or an NGO or a Section 8 company, because anything related to women must be an NGO. I'm not running an NGO, I am running an impact company, and I am running it for profit, because I was very clear as a banker, till you have mainline money coming into this agenda, we will never scale and we will never be able to create the impact that we need to. So that was my first tryst as an entrepreneur. I probably had less challenges as a corporateur, but certainly as an entrepreneur, I saw the world with a different light. The second was, we were doing our first round of fundraise, which was relatively okay. We had a lot of angels and people were betting on the founding team and obviously on the startup. The second raise, which I've just completed, we went to institutional. I said, I'm going to go to VCs. I come from banks. I understand. It was very tough. So don't get schmoozed by media and all the good stories which are carried out there, because for every company, money is raised, there are 10 others who are suffering. And let me also tell you, I think media overdoes the whole entrepreneurship bit. We never talk about startups which failed, right? We always talk about startups, either they've raised fund. Raising fund is not equal to raising revenues. They're 2 different things. And if you don't make your business work, it's going to fail by default anyways. But anyway, so my second round was great fun. I had a lot of unsolicited mentoring and advice, which was I know you're doing a lot of skilling for both men and women, because on our platform we're very, very inclusive of men. A discussion around gender diversity can never be conclusive unless we have men coming along with us. So you do a lot of training for men and women, but women, are they really serious about this stuff? And I'm not kidding you. This is the conversation I've had. Yes, we can show you data. We can show you there's so many women and men allies who are helping them. No, 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 no. You should add some makeup courses. You should add some sari draping. Anu, this sells. And I was like, guys, if I have to sell, there are many other products that I can sell. I'm not a TikTok, I'm a LinkedIn. So let's get to the professional space, because if we have to really change the, the equation, we will have to focus on mindsets and skilling. So this was one VC. Second VC. We really like the product. We like the fact that over 2-3 years, you guys have tripled your revenues. But why do you do this? You made your money, you've been in a corporate world, you have a husband who earns enough. Are you really serious about this? ये छोड़ दो, ये बहुत, सर आपने बोला hustling का काम है, बहुत hustling का काम है, आपसे नहीं होगा, छोड़ दो. I don't know when you will cop it out, right? And I said, you really think I've left my job to twiddle my thumbs at home? Is this the example that I'll be setting for the future generation? The answer is no. So we're going to hustle more. The third VC. Oh, when we look at your team, it's a lot of, 60% of women in your founding team. We think that this is a lifestyle team. Now, I had no idea what lifestyle means. Lifestyle basically means I have quit my job and I'm doing kitty party on the side. Right? I'm having fun. I'm not really serious about it. But this is the reaction of India incorporation. So it actually resolved me, learning from Avni, it really resolved my resolve to push the edge further. And I was very, very clear that, we are going to break into the institutions, and we did, but it has taken a lot of toil and soil for it to make it happen. So for a lot of people out there who want to focus on, women in workplace, or even going into other strands of diversity like LGBTQ, it's not easy, because the understanding of this whole agenda is very, very varied, and conviction is even low. So one thing which we are certainly pushing is women out there. And there are a few things that I have from my own journey to learn from. One is the choices that you make. I made a choice. I was at the helm on top of my career. I made a choice to give it up all to have it all. And I wanted to do something that the older me can look at the younger me and feel really proud about. Big brands carry you up to a point, and it's a great learning to have. But then go out and see what the impact you want to create and what is the legacy you want to build. So a lot of women out there who actually want to quit when they get married or they have kids, let me tell you, husbands get busy with their jobs and the kids grow up. So, you got to be looking at that stage when you talk to your 50-year-old self, what would you be telling yourself? So make your choices wisely, because the choices you make define the path that will unfold, and it has consequences in the future. The second one, clarity, both for men and women. I mean, we all have to have clarity. The difference is that statistically, I can tell you that 70% of the women, actually the motivation and the aspiration is varied after a point of time. So keeping that hunger on, keeping that, at 50 or 60, I should be here. Most of the women on a platform actually tell us that, in terms of Maslow hierarchy, they feel they're very loved by their family or kids or husbands, but they're not respected. And this is a big pain point, because जब बच्चे को पैसे चाहिए तो वो बाप के पास जाता है, और जब करियर गाइडेंस चाहिए तो वो करियर काउंसलर के पास जाता है, जब खाना चाहिए तो माँ के पास आता है. And she's there, she's saying, what, I'm also educated and you can ask me, but that doesn't happen as easily. So have that clarity of purpose about what you want to do in life. And let me also pause here and say, it's okay if somebody wants to be a house husband or a housewife, nothing wrong with it, so long as that's a voluntary choice and not a choice under pressure. Something which makes you happy, and something at the age of 50 or 60 you'll be proud to be. The third one, conviction and courage. For me, this is the fuel. I think we've spoken a lot about courage today, and every journey requires that conviction and courage. For me, given we've had dual careers, there have been multiple times where my husband's in one country and my kids are in one country and I'm in another country. and our families have told us we've completely lost it. 6 साल के बच्चों को छोड़ के कहाँ जा रहे हो? But it's about balancing your own priorities. And very often you'll hear work-life balance. There's nothing called work-life balance. Okay, so that's the good news. It is decided by you. It's never 50-50. It could be 90-10 on some days and it could be 10-90 on some days. It's called harmony, being in harmony with yourself. So this whole notion when we graduate, life has to be 50-50, that's not how it works. But, being convinced of the path will give you the needed courage to pursue your goals. Resilience, there'll be many ups and downs in your life. When I had a corporate career, there were times where I was not included in a certain meeting. When I started my entrepreneurship, you've heard my journey. There was a lot of self-doubt that I had when I started, and I kept kind of working through it, whether it'll work, not work. I've given up so much, and here I am 2.5 years down the line, yet pursuing the path, and hopefully we'll kind of grow this into a unicorn 3 years down the line. Confidence and collaboration for me that kind of come together. A lot of women actually suffer from self-doubt. So we work a lot with them through mentoring and coaching to enhance their confidence. So self-doubt is a killer in many ways from the clarity of purpose you might have. And lastly, collaboration. Collaboration for me is men and women have to work together. And a lot of men here, I assume, are male allies. The path is different. Very often, when we start to focus on women agenda, it's all about equality, equality. It's not equality because we're not starting at the same place. It's about equity. So, my call out to women is keep moving, push the edge. And for a call out for a lot of men out here is that hold their hand and help them push the edge and help them clear some of the issues, which may come along the way. So I'm going to end at just a small quote, which is a favorite of mine, and I kind of talk about it to my team very often. I think my journey has just started. I think I've kind of reframed my mindset. As a late entrepreneur, I've realized two things. One is that you need a lot of energy, the kind of energy all of you have, and I've had to inculcate that. And on the other side, I think when you are at the stage that I was financially secure, and that matters if you're an entrepreneur, but that gave me the courage to push the ecosystem very, very hard. But where I am today, I think what resonates with me is that अभी तो असली मंजिल पाना बाकी है, अभी तो इरादों का इम्तिहान बाकी है, अभी तो तौली है मुट्ठी भर ज़मीं, अभी तो पूरा आसमान बाना बाकी है. Thank you very much.